This video is a quick and high-level introduction to the Scratch programming language, and it's oriented toward people who already know the fundamental concepts of programming. I've already loaded the Scratch system, and here you can see the Scratch icon. Scratch is a programming environment out of MIT, and it's designed for young children, and I'm using it with my boys around ages 9 and 10 as their first introduction to programming. And I think it's a really clever, slick, well-done system that has all the main concepts of programming in a way that kids can understand. So here is the screen, and you can either run the program offline, which is what I'm doing now, or you can run it in a web browser through a web browser like Safari or Chrome or whatever. So let me just go over the main parts of it. This is the output area, the graphics area, where you can see the results of your programming. Scratch is designed to do graphics programming, and you can make little video games with it. And I'll show you an example of that. Over here, on the right-hand side, is the area where you will see the programs. And in the middle, you have a place where you can grab stuff to move. So for example, you can grab any one of these things here and move it over into the programming area, and if you don't want it, you can just get rid of it. Okay, like that. Here you see what's called a sprite, and you can pick it up by clicking on it and moving it around, and you can see that the field, the output field, is an XY plane, and the sprite can be moved. So let's start with a simple program and show you how it might work. I'll get down to this area here in a second, later on, and I'll talk about some of the other options up here in a second. But let's just go to, we have a bunch of different options here, and I'll go through these in a second, but basically what I want to do is grab this event. I've got several different events. And this is when the green flag is pressed. That's the go button, so here's the go button, and here's the stop button for your program. And then I'm going to do some motion. So I'm going to move, and I'm going to create a program by moving it 10 steps. So actually, let me do something different. Let me use glide, and I'm going to glide to an X coordinate. So I'll type in 100 and a Y coordinate of 100. And the movement is going to be over the course of 1 second. And let me get another glide here. After we do that, let's go back to 0, 0. Oh, and hey, let's then go to this position. And interestingly enough, we see that if I just grab it, that's minus 120, or that's positive 124 minus 90. So then when we click it, we're going to execute this program. So let's move the fellow to right here, move the sprite to here, we'll click go, and you'll see it glide to this position, then to 0, 0, and then down to there. And then our program is done. Okay, so that was a program. Each program is associated with one sprite, so we're telling this guy what to do. And we can have multiple sprites, and each one of them can have their own programs. So we can do things like create a program. I could save this program. It's just a pretty minor program, but I could use the standard operating system to save this program. They call it a project, and I could give it a name and then go ahead and save it. But there's really nothing to this program, so I won't bother saving it. So now let me go through the kinds of programming options that we have. First of all, let me just say that the editor here is really convenient for moving these blocks around. So here's motion. We can move 10 steps in the forward direction. Each one of these sprites is pointed in a particular direction. And we can turn. Okay, let's put that one in there. If we just want to see what it does, we can click on it, and it turns 15 degrees. So I'm clicking on this thing to see how it works. What happens if we just execute it? If I can also execute the whole program by clicking on that. Okay, it glides to this position, turns a bit, and then glides back to 0, 0. So let's watch that again. It glides to that position, turns, and then glides back. And now if we move him 10 steps forward, he moves I'm clicking on this multiple times. He's moving in the direction he's pointing. We have point, we have point towards the mouse pointer, go to a specific location. Let me show you how these work. Let's say go to mouse pointer. We have options here. We can choose whether where we want him to go. A random position. So we could just, boom, go to a random position. I'm clicking on it and he's going to a random position. Change X by this, set X to this, change Y to by a certain amount, set Y to a certain value. If on edge, meaning the edge of the playing field here, he'll bounce. And we can do some other things. These are variables down here, and we can't just execute them, but we can see just by clicking on it what the value is. We can see what his direction is too. Okay, so let's now let's go into control here, and this is where we see our programming constructs. So we could, for example, let's say I want to insert one of these blocks in here. You can see how it's highlighting. If I'm holding the mouse button down, if I release it here, it just sticks it right in there. If I want to eliminate it, what I do is I grab this piece here, or I could grab this piece, okay, and then grab this piece, and then move it back here. And you can see when it highlights, if I release there, it'll click. If I don't want it there, I can move it down here, or I could click it here, or maybe here, or here. It's very convenient, so I can put it right there. Let's put the weight in there, and then we'll do this. So we can just see, glides there, waits 1 second, and then glides there. Here's a repeat loop. Let's see how this works. Let's say we want to repeat 10 times. Turn 15 degrees and then glide to this position. This is not a very good program because he's just going to end up there and do some turning. But let's take that part out, okay? And let's move 10 steps, okay? So now and actually let's get rid of the weight. Oops, see how it's highlighted? It's executing that part there. I'm modifying the program while it's running. So let's do this. So I'm actually able to add pieces to the program while it's running. Very, very great programming, really. So I'm going to leave this here, and let's see how it works. It turns, moves 10 steps, and turns. And it's all happening so fast that you really don't see the movement happening. This guy has a pen, too. So let's put the pen down, like Turtle Graphics. We'll put the pen down there. And we'll set the pen, well, we don't have to set the pen color. It's going to default to something. And let's just see what happens. Okay? Let me move him out of the way so you can see what he did. He went 10 steps, turned, went 10 steps, turned, and went 10 steps. Let's change this to moving a little bit more. And we'll have him move 25 steps so you can see it. And then we can do that. And you can see that he's creating a part of some sort of a polygon. You can see what this does. We can change the pen color too. Let's just, we can do all kinds of things here. We can, whoops. Oh, it's selecting the color that I'm over. So if I want to change it to, say, for example, this red right here, I can do that. And now when we click it, he draws that. Let's grab him and move him over here. Change pen color to absolute values. Change various things. Change the pen size to make it a larger pen. We can try that. Let's make it a slightly larger pen. We'll make it 4. And then we click run. We get that. Okay? So now he's drawing red. Let's go back to control and see what else we've got here. We've got a repeat loop, which we've seen. We've got a forever loop. We can add things, put things in a forever loop. This is just a repeat while true. Now we get into if statements. Here's an if and an if then else statement. And here we see something new. We see conditions. So let's see. There are different kinds of data. This deals with string data, numerical data, and Booleans. Those are the primary kinds of things we've got going on. So here we use circles to deal with numeric data, and we use these and we use the diamond shapes like this to deal with Booleans. And so this thing, there's no type, there's a type system here, and you essentially can't make a type error. So let's say we want to say if not something. We can put that right in there. Let's see how that works. So we take the not thing, and we could put it there. Okay, and you see it's highlighted, so if I let go of it, it's in. Now we could ask whether some variable is less than something else. Okay, so we could put it right in there. Okay, we could get rid of the not, and we could say just ask whether something is less than something else. For example, we might want to fill in the number 4 there. Okay, and let's say we want to say whether the not we can. Oh, it does allow us to put that there. I'm quite surprised. That would be some sort of a type error in my view. But let's fix that and put that there. And now let's go ask about the x position. And we can grab the x position, and we can put it there and ask whether the x position is not less than 5. Then do something. And we can just put anything in here we want to. Go to some position. So let's go back to the operators and see what we've got. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And this picks a random number between, well, we can pick a random number between 1 and, say, 25. And we've got logical operations, and, or, and not. We've got some string operations here. We can ask what's the first letter of something, the length of some string. Or we could take two strings and append them. And we've also got a mod function and a rounding function, and then we've got some other functions here. These are, you can see this is the square root of 9. If we click on it, we see it's 3 right there. So we could ask what's the square root of 25, and just click on it, and you see it's 5. So it's telling us what it's going to do. We have other functions: absolute, sine, log, e raised to a power. So we've got a fair amount of mathematical computation if we want. Let's go back to control and keep going with these. We've got if then else. We've got wait until a certain thing becomes true. We can stop the program. We can stop things from running. And then we've got some more complicated things. When I start as a clone and delete this clone. I'm not going to go into some of the more advanced stuff. Let's look at events. When the green flag is clicked, we do some stuff here, okay? But here I've brought in a second one, and so this shows right away that we have parallelism going on. Let's go to sound and let's play. Well, you probably won't hear the sound because it's coming through my microphone now. Let's say hello. I'll show you what that does. Actually, we'll do a wait. Okay, let's see. That would be an event. No, control. We're here? Oh, where's my wait 1 second? Here's wait 1 second. Let me just grab it. Oh, it's an orange. It came from here. Oh, here, of course. Wait 1 second. Okay. Wait 1 second. Say hello. Okay? So now when I click the green flag, I'm going to get two things going on. I'll move him down there so he can have room to draw. He'll draw the half circle, but at the same time, this program will be executing. Okay? So let's do it and see what happens. Okay? He waited 1 second and he said that. Let's get the wait out of there to show you that they're really happening simultaneously. And now we'll do it. Let's see what happens. Did you see the hello following him? See, they're both being done at the same time. Okay, this is really quite impressive. Oh, we're changing the pin size by 4 each time, so the pin is getting larger. So we can also go up here into events and say when a button is pressed. So now we say when the space key is pressed or any alphabetic character or up arrow or down arrow. Let's have the right arrow cause him to move forward. So let's say motion, move 10 steps. Let's make it a little bit larger so we can see it. We'll make it 25 steps. And if I press the right arrow, okay, now you can't see me doing this, but I'm going to move him right here. Let's stop this program. And the hello comes on and it stays on. There's also before I run this, let me run this program by clicking the right arrow. And see he's moving forward 25 steps and he's drawing. Okay? Oops, sorry. So in motion we have move, turn, go to, glide, change the position. I've gone through those. In events we've got when the flag is clicked, when keys are pressed, when the sprite is clicked, so we can move over and click right on the sprite and have him do something. When we've got some other things. And now down here we've got some interesting things. We've got message sending. So we can have something that says when I receive a message, do something. Okay, and let's say when the right arrow is pressed, I'll broadcast this message. Let's give the message a name. We'll call it, so I'll click on new message and I'm going to name this message. So I'll say, I'll just say, move it. Okay, that's the name of the message. Now, when I go down here to when I receive message, and it gives me a choice. I'll say when I receive the message, move it, say hello. And actually, let me. So when I push the right arrow, the hello will pop on. Okay, so let me push the right arrow and see what happens. Okay. Now I'd like to be able to, let's say when the, I'll say when the left arrow is pressed, I want to say something different. So we'll do looks and we'll hide the message. That'll hide the sprite. Okay, that'll make him disappear. So let me press the left arrow. There he goes. He's gone. But I don't like that. I want to see him, so let me get rid of some of this stuff. I'm just dragging it away, and it just basically disappears. So now when I click the left arrow, he should reappear. So I'm going to click the left arrow now, and the sprite reappears. And when I press the right arrow, it's going to broadcast the message, move it. Down here, it's going to pop up the hello. Actually, let's change it so we can see something. We'll say bye. So now I'm going to press the right arrow, and he says bye. And we can also put blanks there, or nothing there, and I believe this will cause it to go away. Yeah, it goes away. He's not saying anything. So we can think something. So say nothing but think, So now I'm going to press the right arrow. It's going to broadcast the move it message, and he'll think, So you see he's got little bubbles here. They're slightly different than the saying bubble. Now, let's get into the costumes and the sprites. We have only one sprite in this program, okay? But we can have multiple sprites. So, and each sprite can have a costume. So let's create a new sprite. Before I talk about the costumes, let's create a new sprite. So I'm going to create a new sprite, and I'm going to choose him from the library. And let's have, let's see, the bananas. Okay? So now I've got a new sprite here. It's just bananas. And so it's got its own program here. And if I switch back over to my little cat, there's his program. But the bananas program is completely blank. If I want to copy stuff, for example, I want to copy this material into this sprite, I can drag it right over there and drop it. And I go to the bananas, And there it is. I've made a copy of it. If I want to get rid of it here, I can just drag it off to nowhere and it disappears. But that was just a copy. Now let's go back to this banana sprite with no program. And let's look at what this sprite looks like. Each sprite has an image. And the cat's image is a cat. And the banana's image is the image of banana. But they can have multiple images, so they can change their looks. Okay, so this is a costume. And if I want a new costume, I can create a new costume. Or actually, let's just modify this picture. I'm going to modify this picture by drawing some stuff on it. Okay, well, notice it appears right over there immediately. Okay, it's saved. I don't have to do anything more. I don't have to save or anything. I've changed that picture permanently. Okay, let's go click on costumes and I can see it. Let's see if the undo will work. Yes, the undo will work. But now let's make a new costume. Let's change the bananas to a baseball. Okay, let's double click on that. So now I have two costumes for this particular sprite. And at any one time, it's got the current image. And just for good measure, let's make yet a new costume. And I'll choose something from the library that they have that comes with this. And let's go back to things. And let's choose the basketball. Oops, double click on it. So now this sprite has three different images for it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? At any one time, it's wearing its particular costume. And we have all kinds of editing things here. We can draw pictures and import stuff and add text and so on. We can, for example, draw something like this, and then we can fill it with a color like red. Click there. Oops, that didn't work. I don't know why it's not working. Oh, here it's trying to fill. It won't fill this for some reason. Don't understand why, but there we filled that. We can also do some erasing. Oops, that's duplicating. I don't want to duplicate it. I want to erase. And my erase marker is where? I don't know. But somewhere there's a way to erase stuff. I guess that's only when you're working with a bitmap. There are different ways you can make. Here we're going to create a new costume. And we're just going to use our drawing to make it. So we can paint, and here we can fill with, let's say, purple. I think we should be able to fill with purple, like that. So now we've got four costumes for this thing. One we created from a bitmap. One we started initially. One we started initially with a costume from the library. We can also get them from files and use the camera. I'm not going to do any of that right now. Let's go back to the script for this guy. It's only got one program, even though it's got several costumes. So we can change the costume. Switch costume. So let's do next costume. So let's do next costume and an event. When the space bar is pressed, this sprite will go to the next costume. So here I'm pressing the space bar and you can see it's changing its image. Okay. So back to the different kinds of things we can do with the scripts or the programs. We can create sounds, we can play various sounds, we can stop all sounds, we can play a particular note for so many beats, we can change the volume, and so on. The pen, we can set the pin color and pin up, pin down, and all of our movement will cause the pen to be writing. We've got variables too. We haven't seen variables yet, but let's make a variable and let's call it my var. And is it going to be for this sprite or for all sprites? We'll keep it for all sprites. And we say OK. So now we have a variable, and this allows us to do things like set my variable to a value, or add a certain value to it, or show or hide the display. So here's the variable display right here. If we set my variable to 43, and then add 1 to it when the space key is pressed. I'll press the space key now. That didn't do anything. Oh, that's interesting. Next, set my variable to 40. Oh, I'm still in here, so I think I need to get out of that. Finish editing there. So now I hit the space key, it changes to the next costume, increases, sets it to 43, and then adds 1. Let's get that out of there, and just every time I hit the space bar now, it is changing the costume and incrementing the variable. And we don't have to look at this if we don't want to. Doing a right click, we can hide it. We can also change how it looks. We can change it to this style, or we can change it to, whoops, I don't know what happened there. Change it to a slider bar. Not sure why that's not working. This thing usually works pretty well. And we can also hide it. So let's hide it. We can use variables in computations. So let's say we want to add the current value of myvar to something. Let's say we want to add it to a random number between 1 and 10. And then we want to set my variable to my variable plus a random number. So set my variable to, and we'll grab this and we'll put it right there. So this will set my variable. We only have one variable in this program so far, but it will set it to my variable plus a random number between 1 and 10. So we can also, those are simple variables that have a single value. We can also create lists. I'm not going to show that now. I think I've gone through control, sensing. We can ask whether he's touching red. Oops, I clicked on him, so now this is his program. It's a bit disorganized, but I'm not going to talk about style. As far as I know, there's no way to put any comments into the program, but perhaps there is. We can get data. We can ask, here, let's see, what's your name, and wait. And then we can do something with the answer. Let's take the answer and let's set it to my variable. Let's see if that will work. Data. Set my variable to answer when the green flag is clicked. What's your name? You can click it here. Let's stop that. Let's click it here. Oh, it executed this program as well as this program. So that's why he's down here. Let's move him up so we can see him. What's your name? And then it pops up this little thing, and I'm going to type in my name. And then we have set my variable to that. I'm not sure how we get that back on the display here. Oh, that's right. It's this button here. Click. And then let's change it to the normal readout. So the current value of myvar is Harry. Okay. So here we are in sensing. We can ask whether things are touching the edge, whether he's on top of a color, and various other things we can do. Operators we've gone through. Now we can also create blocks. A block is a little bit like a subroutine, and I'll show briefly how that works. Let's create a block called my function. Okay, and let's see what the options are. We can have a number input. So I'm going to pass it a number, and let's make it my function. We can have additional information. We call it my function that with string. So our second parameter will be a string, and so now we're going to add a string input. So the name of this thing is sort of my function with string, and has two variables, number 1 and string 1. And we just say OK. Okay, there it is. It's like a control thing. So when it gets called, what are we going to do? Let's say nothing and think. We'll display the string. I want to get rid of this, but I want to do it as a think for 2 seconds. Think for 2 seconds. But we don't want to think we want to think string. So let's think whatever the string is. Okay, so now we need to call this block. So here, now when we go up here, we see that we've got a new block. It's called myFunctionWithString. So let me move this so we can see. Now when the green flag is clicked, it's going to ask, what's your name? It's going to wait. It's going to set that to my variable. And let's put in here the string answer. So let's go to, let's see where data comes from answer. We can put that right there. Okay, or we could put my variable there, either way. So let's click this. He thinks, what's your name? So we're going to say Fred and hit enter. And then that is going to result in my function being called with an argument of 1 and the string answer. Here, down here, we are displaying that string for 2 seconds. So again, when we see this run, you'll see it displayed. Let's move down here. What's your name? John. Okay, watch, and it's displayed for 2 seconds. Okay. We've also got a backdrop. This is a bit like a sprite, but this is all on a field of just sort of a canvas, if you will. And we can have different canvases, so we can switch those. We can create a new backdrop. Let's say we'd rather have bricks. Or let's just try a blue sky. It's a little bit simpler. Double click on that. There's our backdrop. And we can change it if we want to have an image or whatever we want. Now, we can save all this stuff, but let's instead open an existing program. Do I want to save this wonderful project we've done? Nope, don't save. But then I'm going to ask Scratch projects. Okay, so this is a program I've written earlier. It's called Snowman Game, and I'm going to just open that. And let me show you how this program works. First of all, it's kind of a corny little program. When we click the green, let's go into full screen mode so you can see it. Okay, full screen mode. Here's my little thing I'm moving, and I'm going to use the right arrow key, and I'm going to use the up key. So I'm going to start the program running. I've got 5 lives left, and I'm displaying that here. I push the right arrow key, and he moves. Okay, he moves like this. If I move him too far, oh, why is this not working? Oh, my program, I thought it worked. Perhaps I changed it or something and forgot about that. That's interesting. Oh, I have to change my demo here. All right, well, let's go see, let's just debug it here and see what's going on. Go back there. So let's see how this thing works. This sprite I'm ignoring. That's the default sprite. This one, I was playing around with it, but I'm ignoring it now. For these hearts up here, I've got 5 different sprites. I just copied them, I cloned them, and each one of them is positioned at a slightly different place. And they go, when we start the program, each one of these sprites goes up here and displays itself. So those are really little sprites. But when I click go, they go to where they should be. Each one goes to a different position. This one goes to 205, 168. And when there's a change in life, if the lives left, then they disappear. They hide themselves. So, and the last one, when that one goes away, this is the one. This heart right here. When it goes away, we change it to a different costume. This one actually has 2 costumes, and the other one, well, it's got 3 costumes. The other one is game over. Okay, and so we change it to that costume. So let's change it back to this costume. And here's our snowman sprite. Let's look at his program. When the up arrow key is pressed, he moves and he broadcasts check, the check message. The check message asks whether he's touching the gray, which he is. If he's touching the gray, that's great. If he's not, he died. So we broadcast the died message. When he receives died, he basically falls to the bottom of the screen, or he should anyway. and he broadcasts rebirth and also a life change. He goes back to he broadcasts life change to get rid of one of the hearts, and he glides for back to the beginning spot. And when the right arrow key is pressed, he glides forward. And let's see, it's strange this is not working. He's gliding okay. When I press jump, he jumps. But here he's failing to fall, and I'm not sure what's going on here. I suppose we could debug this. Check, receive check if he's not touching the gray color, which he's not, then he broadcasts died. There I touched died, and he died okay. It seems to me he's not touching died. I'm not sure quite why this is not working. There. Oh, I see. When we press the right arrow, oh, this is coming and connected there. That's what's going on. I don't know how that happened. All right, let's try him now. Push right arrow, and he falls down. One of the lives gone, it disappears. Let's try it again. This time, let's jump. Okay, let's jump again, and we can. As a demonstration of parallel programming, I'm going to push the up arrow, have him jump, and then I'm going to press the right arrow at the same time. So you can see he's kind of moving. Oops, I didn't do it very well. So I need to work on this game. Okay. So that is a demonstration of Scratch. I hope it gives you a general idea of the program. It's a really clever system. I think it's really well done, and it works fairly well. Oh, game over. So also the video's over. Thanks for watching.